Hello and welcome to the Celtic News update from the David67 YouTube channel for Monday, the 7th of August. Um, there are a few news stories bubbling under with regards to players coming in and out of Celtic over the next week or two. The main story today relates to Carl Starfelt and his very likely transfer to Celta Vigo, which is thought to be going ahead in the next day or two. The stories are that Starfelt and his agent are flying out to discuss with Celta Vigo personal terms with the view to a €5 million transfer from from Celtic to Celta Vigo. Um, we bought Starfelt around 2 years ago from Ruben Kazan for around about 4.3 million, and so Celtic will be just about breaking even on the deal with Starfelt. I would have preferred had Celtic held out for a little bit more in terms of transfer fee, as his reputation has increased over the last couple of years. He remains a Swedish international and performed very well last season once he came back from injury in partnership with Cameron Carter-Vickers. However, um, Brendan Rodgers has a similar policy, it would appear, to Ange Postecoglou, of when a player wishes to leave the club, he does not stand in their way. Also, in this case, uh, it would appear that if Carl Starfelt did move to Celta Vigo, he would be much closer to his partner Jacinta, the ex-Celtic ladies player who left the club at the end of last season and is now playing in Lisbon in Portugal, and so much nearer for the two of them to meet up. Um, no other definite stories of players leaving Celtic. Um, Some mention of Albion Ayeti going back to Switzerland to play for Basel, although that is as yet unconfirmed. There is mention that there are plans to loan out many of our younger players uh, uh, to play for first team football in Scotland and in England, rather than playing a further season in the B team in the Lowland League. And so I would expect over the next couple of weeks, our more talented young players such as Vata and Summers may well be loaned out for the season to gain first team experience. Particularly Vata, I would be very keen if Celtic signed him up on a long term deal, as he appears to be a player with a lot of potential who did cope well with his brief substitute appearances at the end of last season. No word on any progress regarding Dominik Livakovic coming from Zagreb to Celtic as a replacement for Joe Hart. And it would appear that Sevilla are now the main um, club to which he is likely to be transferred, as Fenerbahce appears to have fallen by the wayside. Um, and Celtic remains an option, but it would appear that Livakovic's main preference would now be to go to Sevilla. There are a number of stories linking Celtic again with Scott McTominay, the Manchester United midfielder. Those links earlier were for a loan deal. However, he is much more likely now to be on his way to one of the other English Premier League clubs, such as West Ham, and there are a number of major European teams also in the running for his signature. At £40 million transfer fee and £78,000 per week in basic salary, I think he is very much out of Celtic's price range, both for weekly wages and also for a transfer fee. An interesting player being put forward as a potential transfer into Celtic is Haris Belkeba, a player who has been playing for Stade Brestois in the French Ligue 1. He has made 120 appearances in the top French division. He's available as a free agent signing. He is a current Algerian international and would appear to be more of a defensive midfielder. And his statistics show that he is very strong in the tackle, also good at intercepting the ball, breaking up play, and starting new attacks. He then would be a good option to allow McGregor, O'Reilly, Hattati, Turnbull all to move more forward into more attacking positions, with him being a link man between defence and the more creative midfielders. This would appear to duplicate the role of Tomoki Iwata and the young South Korean Kwon, but he would bring experience at the highest level in the French leagues and may well be a good option in European football for Celtic when we want to tighten up the play or preserve a lead. One other player said to be on Celtic's radar is Anastasios Douvakis, currently playing in Holland in their top division for Utrecht. A 24-year-old Greek international, 6'2", and from reviewing his showreels on YouTube, a player who is good in the air, two-footed, strong, able to act as a target man, and also to play off other players. Strong shot with right foot and left foot, and also capable of coming back into midfield as a link man, as was the role played by Kyogo Furuhashi at the weekend against Ross County. Scored 18 goals and 4 assists last season for Utrecht, and comes with a good reputation, and would be an interesting addition to Celtic, similar in many ways to Georgios Giakoumakis, who was previously successful at Celtic before his transfer off to Major League Soccer in last transfer window. And with Kyogo's recurring shoulder problems, it would be a good option to have another striker in reserve as backup to Kyogo and to O. And so transfer fee said to be around about £3 to £4 million, and so would be well within Celtic's budget and would be a very useful player to have in the squad. Turning to potential replacements for Carl Starfelt once his transfer to Celta Vigo is completed. We already do have a number of young backups, Welsh and Scales and Kobayashi, to go with our two more experienced international defenders, Carter Vickers and Navrocki. There are a number of players said to be on Celtic's radar. First of these is the under-21 England international Taylor Harwood Bellis, player who plays for Manchester City, who has actually been on loan over the last 3 or 4 seasons successfully with Blackburn, Anderlecht, and last season was a key factor in the promotion of Burnley to the Premier League. He is back at Manchester City currently. He is available on loan and as transfer. There are said to be a number of English Championship sides keen to sign him, either on loan again or for transfer. Transfer fee would be £15 million at this stage, reportedly. However, with Manchester City being part of the Citigroup alliance along with Celtic, there is a thought that the Manchester City management would be keen for him to come to Celtic, potentially, to allow him Champions League football. He comes with a very good reputation, 6 foot tall, 6 foot 2 tall rather, 21 years old, is highly regarded and has had quite a number of under 21 international appearances and has played for England at all the various different youth group levels. And so would be a good option for Celtic to bring on in a loan, similar to what we did with Jason Denayer a couple of years ago, who had a very successful year at Celtic on loan. And at the end of that year loan, there is the option for a £15 million transfer, which worked very well a couple of years ago with Cameron Carter-Vickers. Another player in a similar mould is Xavier Mubayamba, currently playing for Volendam in the Dutch Eredivisie top league. Player who previously was in the Barcelona and Chelsea youth network, moved from Chelsea to Volendam, had a very successful season with Volendam last year, and is apparently keen to move from Volendam for more regular, higher level football and the chance for Champions League football. 6'5" tall, and so may well be a very good option for Celtic, as several of our centre backs are a little bit shorter, and Celtic has been quite vulnerable to the high ball at corners and direct free kicks into the box, and so his extra few inches of height may be of great use both in our box and in opposition boxes at corners and free kicks in our favour. He also is able to double up as right back, and so would very much fit into Celtic's way of playing and way of dealing with transfers, in that he's a young player with massive potential, said to be a new Virgil van Dijk, and so I would be very keen for Celtic to pursue any option to sign him on a permanent basis. Another player with known to be on Celtic's scouting radar, with also the link via the Citigroup, is Diego Martins, currently playing for New York City in Major League Soccer. Player previously working under Ange Postecoglou at Yokohama when they won the Japanese League. He then subsequently was transferred from Yokohama to New York City, has had a couple of seasons in Major League Soccer, thought to be a very good leader, very good with the ball at his feet, very capable of passing, linking goalkeeper to other defenders to midfielder, said to have a very powerful shot, very comfortable with the ball at his feet, good in the air, and so would very much be in the mould of a Carter Vickers, who has been so successful for us in the last couple of years. Diego Martins is 28 and Brazilian. And so would be a player coming to us, likely to have good 2-3 years at high level for Celtic, would not really be a player that we would be looking to move on, but may well be at 28, looking more for a permanent team, and so may well be a Celtic star over the next few years, and would be a good alternative to the two younger players currently on Celtic's radar. One other player being mentioned that appears to be a good option is Harry Souttar, currently playing for Leicester in the English Championship. He was signed by Brendan Rodgers for £15 million on a transfer from Stoke, having earlier played for Dundee United. Um, Harry Souttar is an Australian international. He's also the brother of John Souttar, the Rangers centre back, and he is by far the better Souttar brother, as John Souttar, very capably for Rangers, has gifted us a few goals and also gifted the Kilmarnock their winner a couple of days ago in Rangers 1-0 loss at Kilmarnock. Harry Souttar was very well respected at Dundee United, very promising young player, continued playing well at Stoke City, and then has moved on to Leicester. Would appear currently to be a backup at Leicester rather than their first choice central defensive pairing. Was on the bench for their fixture at the weekend, and the current Leicester manager Enzo Maresca would appear to be looking to clear out a few of his backup players with a view to bringing in new players. And Harry Souttar, again, would fit the Celtic mould, young player, lot of potential, has got the experience of playing in the World Cup last year in Qatar for Australia, and would fit in nicely into the Celtic team and the Celtic squad. However, I think the previous transfer fee of £15 million would be outside of Celtic's budget for a player of this level, but Leicester may well be looking for a much lower fee if it is part of that clear out of their squad. Another name that has been put forward for Celtic as an option at centre-back is Johnny Evans, who did play under Brendan Rodgers last year at Leicester. He did have a distinguished career for Leicester, international career also for Northern Ireland. Currently, Johnny Evans is on a monthly contract at Manchester United. He has been training with Manchester United and was involved with a couple of their friendly fixtures. However, at the age of 35, I would think that Johnny Evans would not be a good option for Celtic to sign at centre-back, as I think his best years are behind him, and so would not really be a player I would hope that Celtic would be signing. That just about brings us to the end of today's Celtic news. Hoping over the next couple of days to do further updates, which finalises Starfelt's transfer away from Celtic, and also more stronger indications of which player or players Celtic are in the pipeline of signing to cover the key additional positions I think we need to cover at goalkeeper, central defence, and an additional striking option to go with Kyogo and O. Also going to be looking over the next few days and few weeks to do a couple of additional options, such as a top 10 or top 20 of my favourite Celtic players since I started watching Celtic in 1972. And so basically 50 years of Celtic history, and also potentially doing short features of some of my favourite Celtic matches over the last 50 years, also with potentially short clips from those matches or more of a general description. And so with that, I will sign things off. Thank you for listening to the Celtic News Update from David67 YouTube channel. Again, please like and subscribe and add any constructive comments, feedback, opinions, and also if there are any areas you would like me to cover, again, mention those in the comments. So goodbye and see you again tomorrow.